Well, good evening, Internet. It's me, DP Knudten, for another edition of BOOKWARD BOUND. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Hold on. There we go. My gosh. BOOKWARD BOUND. Trying to run my Stream Deck, and it wasn't working right. User error, of course. Anyway, I'm DP Knudten for another edition of BOOKWARD Bound, my 301-day journey from I should really do this to done when it comes to the creation of a brand new book by January 1st, 2021. And yeah, that's the goal, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm only doing it by actually going live every single night to move my book forward in one form or another. Now, some nights I write, some nights I edit, and other nights I outline or design parts of the book, stuff like that. But it doesn't really matter because I'm working on actually progressing the book forward one way or another. And I've been doing it for, let's see, tonight is episode 141, if I have this correct. I believe it is. So I've been going live. This is the 141st day of me going live every single night, with a couple of exceptions that were actually recorded those nights, but actually posted today. But anyway, I digress. So I'm working on the book, and what book am I actually working on? Well, I'm working on this one. Nonfiction Brand, Discovering, Crafting, and Communicating the Completely True, Completely You brand you already are. And that's my point, which is that you are, in fact, a brand, whether you know it or not. And it's time that you took ownership of that brand by actually codifying it, turning it into words, concepts, images, you name it, so that you can own not only who you actually are, but also claim the space in the marketplace that is yours to claim. Because let's face it, if you're just a writer, you're just like any other writer out there. But if you're a specific kind of writer or realtor or accountant or lawyer, or you fill in the blank, and you are truly unique, you are a brand. And that brand should be based on who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And that's what this whole book is about. So anyway, what are we working on tonight? Well, last night I left off in Scrivener right there where you see the blinking cursor. And this is halfway through, maybe about halfway through a section about words have power, especially the right words. And what I was doing was I was reading through, editing, making corrections, making some amplifications, smoothing things out, etc. So it's not a hard edit. It's more like let's do a pass through and see what happens. And I got about halfway through last night and frankly was a little bit tired, so I gave up for the evening, and I'm picking up tonight. So that's what I'm doing. And what I'm going to be doing is actually reading the copy aloud and making corrections on the fly. So let's get started. Creative, collaborative, provocative. As I was seeking to find the first principal words that best described me, what I do, and how I do it, I considered a bunch of different phrases, bunch of different words and phrases. But here's the thing about words. The more you add, the less you really say. There's an old quote that's been attributed to Mark Twain, Henry David Thoreau, and others. But I've found, that is, the internet found, an even earlier citation from the 17th century mathematician Blaise Pascal. In 1657, in a letter to a friend, he wrote, "I have made this longer than usual because I have not had the time to make it shorter." What he said inspired what I wrote is shown. What he said inspired what I wrote above and is shown here even more succinctly. Okay. What he said inspired. I don't need that. That comma's messing me up, and that's why I'm getting rid of it. What he said inspired what I wrote above and is shown here even more succinctly. More words equals less meaning. So rather than do what far too many companies do with things like their mission statement, keep adding words until no one has any objections, I decided to make my Key3 as meaty and pungent as possible. I want to say just 3 words, 3 first principle concepts. One hell of a key 3. Let's dive into them for a second so you can understand better my thinking about each, not them, about each. So you can let's dive into them for a second so you can understand better my thinking about each. Creative. I learned this a long time ago. I'm a terrible rule follower. Like any good 5-year-old, I always have to know the why of something. And even then, I bend, massage, contort, and eventually completely break the rules because that's the way I am. As a kid, this was frowned upon, but as an adult, I quickly learned that this modus chaotic operandi is called something else. Creativity. Capital C, creativity. Yeah, I like it. As a kid, this was frowned upon, but as an adult, I quickly learned that this modus chaotic operandi is called something else entirely. Creativity. It's called something else. Creativity. When I realized the above, the heavens parted, angels sang, and I shouted hallelujah because I discovered one key thing about me that affects all others. I've got to be creative or die. This drives some people in my life absolutely bonkers, and it's gotten me into more trouble. It's gotten me into trouble more than once, but it's also somewhat of a superpower. For me is implied. I don't need those 2 words. Somewhat of a superpower. And that's why it's the very first word concept in my key 3. Collaborative. This one was even more elusive. And took at least a decade as a professional copywriter to figure out. At first, I was a ball hog. That's what we called a kid who would never pass the ball while playing basketball or soccer. A ball hog is the antithesis of a team player. Always team player. I gotta give it a he. He always wants and takes all the credit. I want to make it she. He, she. They always. Let's make it a they since we're messing with that. A ball hog is the antithesis of a team player. They always want and take. They always want and take all the credit. Just getting tense agreement there. All the credit. Insist on their idea and make the people they work with feel like crap. I was, and on my worst days occasionally am, and on my worst days occasionally still am a ball hog. But as I climbed the creative department hierarchy, I discovered something. The work I did with others was always better than the work I did by myself. That's when I decided to embrace the word collaborative in all its many meanings. The ball hog in me still lives, but he's been gelded and locked away when creating paid work for others. Why? Because they are paying for it and deserve the best we can give them. As they say, teamwork makes, teamwork can be one word, makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm going to leave that out. Don't like it. Provocative. This word concept is the most unusual, but probably the most definitive in describing both my best value and worst quality. Two sides, same coin. I typically describe it this way. It's a tweak on the cheek and a poke in the eye. The cheek tweak is all. That's a good idea. But the poke in the eye says, have you thought about this? The fact is, to be a creative. The fact is, to be a successful creative marketer, it requires equal parts chutzpah and kindness. Sure, you could be an order taker and just do what your client is asking for, but that's not what the people I want to engage with typically want. There's a distinct difference between what a client says they want and what they really need, and it's my job to figure that out, and what they need. While I can definitely give them what they want, I really want to discover what they actually need. And deliberate provocation and exploration is the way I figure that out. And quite frankly, my greatest value to them. So let's read that whole thing, shall we? The fact is, to be a successful creative marketer, it requires equal parts chutzpah and kindness. Sure, you could be an order taker and just do what your client is asking for, but that's not what the people I want to engage with typically want. There's a distinct difference between what a client says they want and what they really need. While I can definitely give them what they want, I really want to discover what they actually need, and deliberate provocation and exploration is the way I figure that out. And quite frankly, it's my greatest value to them too. Period. What happens quite a bit is that I will listen deeply as they describe what they want in great detail, i.e. their idea. But then the word ignore is a little too strong, but I will take their expressed want as a suggestion, not an order, and then come back to them with what my experience, understanding, talent, and intuition think they actually need. That's the poke in the eye provocation part. The tweak on the cheek, oh, that's an interesting idea, followed by the poke in the eye. Here's how I interpreted your want and reconciled it to your buyers, to your needs. Oh, boy, this is a mess. That's the tweak on the cheek, followed by the poke in the eye. In action. Not everyone, not everybody. Not everyone digs that, but those that do become my best customers. I think I got to read this whole paragraph because I'm not digging it. What happens quite a bit is that I will listen deeply as they describe what they want in great detail, their idea. But then the word ignore is a little too strong, but I will take their expressed want as a suggestion, not an order, and then come back to them with what my experience, understanding, talent, and intuition think they actually need. That's the tweak on the cheek, followed by the poke in the action. I think that sentence is unnecessary, so I'm going to get rid of it. Not everyone digs that, but those that do become my best customers. Your key 3, who you are, what you do, and how you do it. There are any number of ways of looking at your key 3. The good old three-legged stool is a common analogy. The stool cannot stand without 3 strong, equally important legs. Each represents one of the 3 concepts, words, or phrase. Each leg in this image analogy in this example analogy, comma, in this analogy, each represents one of the 3 concepts, words, or phrases that make up the foundation of your personal or small business brand. Why just 3 instead of 4, 5, or 15? Here's some really good reasons. 1, simplicity and memorability. 3 concepts are enough to create a series, but not so many that you'd forget one. There's a reason phone numbers in the United States consist of 2 sets of 3 digits and 1 set of 4. It's just plain easier to remember them. 2, fewer is better. 3 gives you enough latitude to cover a variety of conceptual latitude to cover a swath. Ooh, swath. Oh, wide swath of conceptual landscape, but forces you to pick ones that truly apply to the true you, that best apply to the true you actually are. You are. To try to be all things to all people. To try to be all things to all people means you're going to do a piss poor job of everything. By specializing based on your first principle truths, you are making a statement of what you stand for and a promise to every person you meet or engage with. And frankly, the fewer promises you make, the better. When it comes to delivering your personal brand, I'm not a big one for recipes or fill in the blank forms. That said, a good way to start thinking about crafting your Key 3 is to pick one concept, word, phrase to describe each key in your Key 3. Key 1, who are you? What concept is at the very core of you as a person, a professional, and a human being? For me, it's creative. For others, it could be analytical, enthusiastic, spiritual, or a phrase like detail obsessed. Organizational. Phrase like detail. Whatever it is, it needs to be as specific as you can make it. Key 2, what do you do? Get right down to the core again by digging deep into collaborative. By digging deep to really describe what you do at a DNA level. Look for active words, ideally verbs or verb phrases that focus on the core thing you do and its value to others. For me, it's the collaborative creativity that I can bring to any problem my client may have. For you, it should be a magnifying glass on the thing you do that solves your client's challenges. Key 3, how you do it. This key is probably the most personal, most definitive, and most important for you to get right. Why? Because there are undoubtedly thousands of other service and product providers who do 90% of what you do, but none of them do that thing exactly the same way you do. Again, using my own Key 3 as an example, there are tons of capital C creatives out there who collaborate with clients. Many of them simply take orders and fulfill them. But that's not for me. I always want to deliver a higher level of creative collaboration and partnership. And to do that, I need to get a little provocative. It's not everybody's cup of tea, believe me. But for those it is, they are the clients I can best serve and, frankly, personally enjoy the most. And personally enjoy the most. Getting started for your Key 3. Okay. So this is looking pretty good. I think tomorrow I might go through this one more time just to read through it because it's a fairly large section at 3,409 words, which when I go to my phone and open my calculator, that's 3,409, 3409 divided by 300 words a page. That brings it to 11 pages. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's a rather big section. Let me see. 3,409 divided by 300. Yeah, 11 and a half pages. Wow. So yeah, that's a bigger section. So I'm going to need to figure out ways to either break it up, maybe put in some illustrations of some sort, just to give it a little bit of air. But we'll see. I do need to read it through again. The average sentence length is only 13. Wow. Typically it's 15. Average paragraph length, 46 words. All right. So I'm cool for tonight, and I'm feeling good about that. So cool. I'm going to say good night for tonight. And I'm also want to invite you to check out the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which comes out every Monday. In fact, today's Tuesday, so yesterday's episode, brand new one this week, features Sarah Townsend from Gloucester, England. And she talks about her brand new book, Survival Tools for Freelancers. And check it out. It's episode 101 of the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts for free. Just search Nonfiction Brand and look for my smiling mug doing something like this, and you'll know it's the right one. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. by all means, refer it to other people you think might be interested in the podcast. And it would really help me out if you would review it wherever you get your podcasts, because that really helps other people find it. Until then, I'm out of here. But before I go, I want to invite my good friend Theme Music to play us on out. I'll see you tomorrow.